we are going to die. We are going to die, and that makes us the lucky ones. Most people are never going to die because they're never going to be born. The potential people who could have been here in my place, but who will in fact never see the light of day, outnumber the sand grains of Arabia. Among those unborn ghosts are certainly poets greater than Keats and scientists greater than Newton. And we know this because the set of possible people allowed by our DNA so massively exceeds the set of actual people. And in the teeth of these stupefying odds, it is you and I, in our ordinariness, that are here. We privileged few who won the lottery of birth against all odds. How dare we whine at our inevitable return to the place where the vast majority have never stirred? Richard Dawkins. And I want to start the video off with that quote because it brings me back to a time in my life where I had a much better understanding of what I want to talk about today, and that is the harmony between wanting and liking, between dopamine and serotonin, if you will. And it's also the genesis of why I have this tattoo on my leg. It says ABC, because every moment that we are alive is both more of a privilege and more unlikely than winning the lottery. So every moment we're alive, we should always be celebrating. I also, before I actually start talking about anything, I want to read to you the quote from, or the journal entry from The Best Day of My Life, and then I'll finally tell you what I want to talk about today. This was on March 24th, 2024. To be brief, I've been searching for happiness for years, thinking it was something I had to obtain. I've learned that it's a perspective, not an object. A perspective of being grateful for things exactly as they are, grateful that you have anything more than nothing. I've come to realize that I have an endless supply of reasons to be grateful. And here are the reasons. I won the lottery of existence. I exist, and I'm capable of experiencing. I'm capable of experiencing, and my experience is pleasurable. The most pleasant parts of my experience of existence are this: the joy I get from Scout being excited to interact with me, the sense of awe when I see the physical accomplishments of humans, existing at a time that science has answers to the most fundamental questions about the universe, the fact that by some chance I was born into a non-evil family. Even more is that they are loving. Even more is that they love me more than any other thing. I am born into a circumstance where, because of the work of the people that came before me, I am free to do whatever I desire, and I have the capacity to do so because of the resources I was given. What is left to do but be grateful when you win the lottery as many times in a row as I did? The only thing that could make my life better is other people getting to experience it. And I've read that a lot of times, and I know that because I previously was not able to read that without crying. In fact, when I wrote that, I bawling. I was sitting in my van, random parking lot, middle of nowhere, and I just, for a moment, fully understood how lucky I was to have every factor that made my life the way it is. Because it's truly way more unlikely than winning the lottery. And so if I was ever able to appreciate, even if just for a moment, what it meant to be fully content, why would I ever stoop back down to the level of wanting for more and being unsatisfied with my life? I think that is the central issue in my life that stops me from being happy, is that wanting is useful to an extent, and it can make your life better. Wanting for more is what encourages us to go do the behaviors that make our lives better. It makes us go get a better job. If we don't have a certain resource, it makes us go get that resource. I don't have to go back into how evolution made us into creatures that always want for more, because being satisfied was never helpful for our survival. Always being greedy and wanting more food and more resources was way more beneficial to surviving and procreating. So now we have brains that are very good at wanting and not very good at liking the stuff that we have when we get them. I think the problem is that we want to make our lives better, and we think that when we get XYZ, our lives will be better and we can be satisfied. But the level that our life has to get to for us to be satisfied is subjective, which is a problem. But even more of a problem is that it's always changing. It's like trying to run towards the horizon. You think, oh, there's the horizon. It's right there. If I could just get there, I'll be at the horizon. But the way horizons work is the closer you get, the further it gets away. I've been blessed enough to actually have this really happen in my life. So I'll just give you the real examples. First one I remember is I'll be happy once I get a girlfriend. I got a girlfriend and actually was happy, so that's a bad example. The next one was when my dad was dying. I thought, I will just be happy when all this is over and he's not suffering and I live in my van. And I just imagined my van life and it just was the best thing ever. And I just imagined every single day being in the van. And then I got in the van and I was happy for a while. And eventually I was like, okay, the van life is great, but I, need to go do other stuff in my life. I want to get a degree in science and I want to have a house. And then the second I set my eyes on that, fully unsatisfied with the van. And it was just about living in Texas, my house. I'm going to have this green room. I'm going to have this, pool table, and I'm going to have all my health stuff perfectly lined up. It's going to be great. And then you get there, still unsatisfied. Well, no, satisfied for a little bit. And then eventually it becomes, okay, well, this house is great and all, but I'll be happy once I have this. And so because it's subjective and I get to determine the level of, material things that I need to have to be satisfied, and it's always changing, you have to eventually just choose that, like, even though my brain is screaming at me to get more, I just have to figure out how to let that voice be there without giving into it and grow the skill of liking the things I have. And that is so difficult. And yesterday was just a moment of like a slap in the face, like a wake up call. Like, what are you doing? Like, why are you delaying contentment any longer? Because I was talking to my friend. Her name is Alex. She's from Jerusalem. And we were running together. 85 degrees in Austin, 10 miles. Horrible idea. We were running, and she was telling me about her life. And I won't air out, all the stuff she told me, but she had a harder life than anyone I've ever heard of. In movies, in books, she had the hardest life I've ever heard of, bar none. And I was just reflecting about it for the rest of the day, like, my life, I have gotten to the point of diminishing returns with every bucket of making your life happier. I've gotten to the point where I've gotten most of what I could possibly get out of therapy as far as making my life happier. I've gotten most of what having money can possibly do to improve your life. I've gotten most of what, safety can possibly do to improve your life. I have pretty much almost all that you could have to make a life better. And still, I was wanting for more. And then when I had this conversation with her yesterday, I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Why? How dare I want for more after being given all that I've given? And it just reminded me of that time in my life where I was fully content, I was fully satisfied, and for just a moment I actually understood the unlikelihood of my circumstances. So I don't know if I have an answer or a solution to this. I more just want to document where I'm at and where I'm thinking, in that it's so hard to balance or have the harmony between wanting more, because that does make your life better, and liking the things you have when you have them. And if there's any skill that I could grow, it would be that. My mom happens to be better than a Buddhist monk at desiring for nothing, and I just think it's the most admirable skill in the world. So, yeah, I just wanted to come on and document my struggles with the harmony of wanting and liking. And maybe someone could relate to it. And hopefully at some point I figure out how to be really good at liking things. I try meditating a lot. I feel like that helps a little bit. The most useful thing I have done is writing down the things I want on the list and just telling myself, you can have that, but you have to wait. And I just keep delaying it, and then eventually, a lot of the time, it just goes away, especially with material things. Like, I'll really, really want a guitar, and I'll say, okay, I'll put it on my list, and I will get it. You can get it later. And I wait and I wait and I wait, and then eventually I'm like, I don't really care about it anymore. So that's been helpful. I still have a hard time with just sitting with it and being content with all the stuff I have. So, like I said, I wanted to get on here and talk about that. Thank you guys for watching. Love you. Bye.